hunter. My interest in coding started long ago while I was working as a deputy for the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Department. I knew a few individuals who went on to work for a specific intelligence agency that I thought was extremely interesting, and I kind of wanted to do the same. In order to work for this agency, one of 3 degrees was required, with computer science being one of them. So I decided that I would get my computer science degree and kind of chase this dream. After about a year of school, I realized that it was a little more difficult than I thought, especially with my youngest daughter just being old enough to kind of reach up and hit the keys on my keyboard while I was trying to do schoolwork. Work was kind of picking up around this time as well, and I decided that I'd kind of put school on hold and come back to it at a later time. Fast forward about 9 years, and my daughter, who's now 10, tells me that I'm getting old on my 35th birthday. Made me think, and I realized that if I was going to go back to school, that I'd better get going now. So I started to self-teach by experimenting with free courses through edX and Coursera, Johns Hopkins University HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for web developers, and an introduction to computer science through and programming using Python through MIT. Through experimenting with these free courses, I quickly realized something that I didn't realize while I was attending college for computer science. I realized that I'm fascinated with coding. I started to attend weekly Monday night meetups with other developers and aspiring developers. And even though I was new, they quickly welcomed me into the group and began to teach me how to code and work as a team. The 4 of us worked on an ISO app for a football pool, and I was assigned to find an API and parse the JSON data. I even participated in a hackathon and contributed enough to the GitHub open source project that I won a t-shirt and a dev badge. I decided that this was something that I was going to pursue and try to make a career out of, and I didn't want to waste any more precious time. My next step was to find the fastest option to be considered qualified for a software development job. I looked at several universities and boot camps and came across Savvy Coders through a virtual meetup, and was fortunate enough to be accepted into the November 1st full stack development cohort, where I am now. For the greater part of my adult life, I've been in the construction field and self-employed for the last several years, doing residential and some commercial remodeling projects with a strong emphasis on painting and drywall. I've created a website that allows a customer to effectively give themselves a rough estimate on their job before ever having a contractor come to their home. It also allows the customer to have access to resources that can help them with what to look for in a contractor and what red flags to look out for before hiring one, and to also have access to a database of contractors in the area who are available for work. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the project from beginning to end. Let me share my screen. Okay, I'll start up here with my wireframes. And this is basically like a skeleton, if you will, of the website and how I kind of originally envisioned it to look. Not so much style-wise, but the structure and the layout of each page. It's pretty basic. All of them pretty much look the same, so I won't bore you with explaining every single page here. But it's basically just, like I said, the skeleton of the website and how I originally envisioned it to look. Scroll down here. And here we have the user flow. And this is basically the how the user navigates throughout the website. As you can see, there's kind of on this login or this welcome page, there's 2 options here. A user would be instructed to either select homeowner, if that's what they are, or contractor. Now, currently, I'm finishing up the homeowner side. I haven't really gotten into the contractor side of the site yet, but once I do, sorry, my phone just went off. Once I do finish the homeowner side completely, it shouldn't be too difficult here to build the contractor side of the site because the structure is all the same. The only thing that's going to change would be the content in each of these pages. Let's see. Also, when it's all said and done, it's basically going to be two different sites. The only thing connecting them will be this welcome page and then a database that's going to be connecting both sides. Otherwise, they're completely separate. And this is my color palette that I chose in the beginning, and I stuck with this for the most part, pretty much the same. Nothing's really changed very much. And down here, it's got some of my SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. One of the strengths, I think, of my website compared to some similar sites is the simplicity of it. You don't get lost too much. Some of these other sites I went to and kind of did a little research on before I created mine. And one of the things I didn't like was that you could easily get lost and it's kind of jumbled. There's a whole lot of information. Another thing about my site compared to some of these other ones is completely free, and some of the resources that I'm implementing in the site, some of these other sites don't have. So let's look at the actual site itself now. So when you first come to the site, you'll land on this page, which is just basically a welcome page. So when it's all said and done and I have the contractor side completely built, all these links here will basically disappear. So the user would essentially just have two options there instead of all these links up here. But for right now, this is how it is. And so let's say you're a homeowner, you come to the site, you click on the homeowner link, and it's going to take you to the About page. The About page is pretty self-explanatory. It's just about the website and why it's useful. You can see here in these boxes, I added some shadows to each of these boxes just to kind of give things more depth. It was kind of flat before that, and you'll probably notice that throughout the website. I did that to just about everything in the site to kind of give things more depth. Up here, we've got a open weather API, and I wasn't sure about adding this at first, but being a contractor, I know how useful it can be to know what the weather is outside, especially if you're doing an exterior job. If you're doing tile or painting outside, it can be very critical to know what the weather is outside. So I decided to put that in there. Now, if you're somebody who's coming to the website to get an estimate for a job, for me anyway, before I find a contractor, I would like to try to price my job. So we'll go over here to the Price Your Job page. And here I have added some calculators to calculate square footage. Now, this is basically just instructions on how to use those calculators and how to actually measure for your square footage. So you would put in your length, your width, and then what the cost is per square foot. And if you're lucky and you know the contractor that you're dealing with, maybe they'll give you their price and just tell you, he may say I charge $1.25 a square foot, so you know kind of exactly what it might cost you. But if you're not that fortunate, you might need to find out what your square footage runs in your state, because each state can vary quite a bit. I added in here in Connecticut, it ranges from $2.27 to $4.08 per square foot, whereas in Kansas it's about 80 cents to $2.30 per square foot. So I added in all the average prices for painting per square foot by state. And to come up with these numbers, I did quite a bit of research. I went to about 3 or 4 different sites and kind of averaged them together. And I guess it wasn't too difficult because they were already pretty similar anyway. But I wanted to be as accurate as I could be. with those. So we'll just say it's $1.50 a square foot, and calculate cost. You get a notification. The specification is 120 square feet. The total cost is $180. Now I'm in the process right now of adding this linear foot calculator, and for some reason it's not quite working right yet. It pops up some numbers there, but those aren't those aren't accurate. So I just added this a couple days ago. I just haven't had a chance to really mess with it too much, this linear foot calculator. But it will be working like it's supposed to real soon. Let's see. So now after you've done that, a person could come to the Find a Contractor page. And on this page, they just search for whatever state they're in and what trade they're looking for, and submit. Now I'm in the process of working on my back end in the database. I'm probably 85% of the way done. But in order to make the site run, I've got a lot of it commented out right now, and I just haven't had a chance to quite finish the back end just yet. But once it's done, they'll click this and it'll bring up a list of available, well, this would be painters in Fargo, North Dakota. Let's see, and then you might wonder where that information's coming from. Well, if we go back to the welcome page, a contractor would come into the site. It would click on the contractor site, and it would take them over here to the contractor page. And the contractor could put their information in, their first name, their last name, their company name, phone number, city and state, and their trade, and submit that, and that will go into the database. And then, when the homeowner goes to find a contractor, that's where they get that information from. This up here is kind of interesting. So this background kind of changes on this header, and I wanted to get some more eyes on this, to get some more opinion, somebody else's opinion of that. And I asked my wife what she thought of it, and she said, I don't think it's real easy on the eyes, so I would change that. But I kind of liked it, so I said, well, maybe we can compromise. So I added a hover over, where if it gets too annoying, a person can just hover over it with their mouse, and it's solid. So it's just kind of interesting little backstory to that, I guess. And I guess the last page here would be the resources page. Now this is something that I wanted to add that would kind of separate my site from other sites. I wanted to add an API in here from this family watchdog offender search. And that way, I thought that would be useful, if a parent is going to be at work or gone for a while, and there's going to be this person in their home around their children. It might be nice to know, a little bit, if there's something that person's, had issues with children. So I wanted to add an API in here for that. But the problem I ran into was it costs a little bit, and for right now, because it's not getting pushed into production tomorrow or anything, there's really no reason for me to pay for that at the moment. So I kind of had to wrestle with what to do there. Either just take that out completely, or set everything up as if I'm going to add the API, but just not do it, which kind of would have been a little goofy. Or I could add a link. So I chose, I didn't really want to add a link because I didn't want to navigate anyone away from the site, but I didn't have a whole lot of options. So I just added a link for now that a person can jump right over here and search their contractor, the person that's going to be working in their home. Later on, I'll probably add the API so that the user doesn't have to actually leave my site to do that. Red flags, this is just, a little bit of information for a customer to kind of read some stories from other people, bad contractor stories and things that they can kind of look out for with their job. And this is just kind of some information on what they can look for in a contractor. All right, and down here, we've got a contact us section, and this is through Form Spree, and a user can put in their email and send me a message. I'll just now demonstrate it here. Okay, so it says the form was submitted successfully. Go back and let's see. It takes a second for that to actually go through, so I'm gonna go over here to mobile and show you that the site's mobile responsive. It should be up now. No, it still hasn't gone through it. Sometimes it takes a few minutes to actually go through. I'll jump back to that here in a minute. Okay, also, sorry. I am hosting the site on Netlify. As you can see. I've also added this little icon up here in the tab. I thought it was kind of neat. It took a while to kind of figure that out, but yeah, that's just a little thing that actually took a lot longer than it should have. Let's go back here. Here we go. So yeah, so the message sent. That's how that works. See, now I can show you a little bit of my code. Now here's a section that really took me a long time. This probably took me, I don't know, way too many hours to type in each individual state, city, and state. I didn't put every single city in America on here, but basically every major city. And this took a long time to type in each one of these. And I found out later, through some help with a TA, that there was a much easier way to do this that could have saved me several hours. So it was kind of a headache, but it's neat to learn that, that there's quicker ways to do these things. And let's see. So here's some of my back end that I'm not fully completely done with yet, but pretty close. Now let's take a look at my Jira board. Now this is my Jira board. Without this process of my Agile training, I don't know that I could have made it to where I currently am with my project. It's essentially a way of keeping workflow organized. One of the things I enjoyed about this was the satisfaction I get when I get to move something over here to from in progress to done. Interestingly enough, this process can kind of be applied to just about anything in life, really. During the first half of the cohort, I was able to get a chance to kind of step outside of my comfort zone a little bit and take a stab at being a Scrum Master. I was tasked with leading our team's daily stand-up meetings and helping to prevent and fix any impediments and kind of make sure the overall work environment was healthy. Throughout all this, I kind of discovered that the extra responsibility of being a Scrum Master kind of forced me to ultimately become more productive, because I was kind of forced to dig a little deeper and try my best to make sure that if an issue did come up, whether it be technical or personal, I wanted to make sure that I either had the answer or I knew what direction to point the team member in to find that answer. I think the thing that I enjoyed the most was building friendships and being self-employed for the last 9 years. I work alone a lot. And while being alone, it can be peaceful. I have realized that I miss working with a team and solving problems together and creating friendships and bonds. And I really just look forward to hopefully working on a Scrum team someday in my future tech career. And so anyway, that's my project. It's a little bit about me. And thank you for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Any questions for Joe?
Thanks, Joe. Having rehabbed what we're going on now as house number 6, I could see a lot of value in the site that you're providing. Also, from a revenue standpoint, lots of opportunity to add in advertising, various Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. They definitely pay to be on sites like what you're creating and Angie's List and all that. So big idea and lots of room to grow with it. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And I want to just kind of ditto what Justin said. After having go through a major remodel on our house, that's a great site for resources.
Thank you.
All right, Joe, awesome job. Thank you. Eric, you are next.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Baker, and I'm currently a STEM teacher in the Kirkwood School District. I teach robotics and a class called Makerspace. And in both of these classes, I encourage students to be independent thinkers, use methods like an engineering design process, and to develop critical thinking problem-solving skills. In retrospect, these same skills that I nurtured in my 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students are what led me to this latest endeavor. I've been in my current position for approximately 6 years. And prior to that, I taught middle school math, primarily algebra, pre-algebra, and geometry for about 20 years. Recently, I decided to use some of those skills that I've acquired as a teacher to learn how to code for myself, which led me to this Savvy Coders Full Stack Development Bootcamp. And I plan to use the skills that I've learned in this cohort to not only produce a functioning website, but possibly land a job in technology. For my capstone project, I'm in the process of creating a website that turns the game of dominoes into a card game that allows the user to apply key concepts that are taught in the Bible. My church has been producing religious games and activities like this for over 15 years. And this website will go a long way to promote our beliefs and introduce the world to a new way of using biblical information on a daily basis. Now, let me show you a little bit about how I developed this website. I'm going to show you a little bit about the background, the ideas behind where I started and where I ended up with some wireframes. We'll check out the website and I'll give you some information about some highlights that I have going on there. So this is the background part of this. Let's start with this one here. This is the wireframe I started way back in November about what I thought it might look like. So I've got the name of the game is called Double Seven. That's a little different than a normal or regular card, a domino game that has 28 dominoes. This one has 36. So it goes from 0 through the 7th number, 0 through 7. This logo here was designed by my wife. She used to be a graphic designer. So I think she did a great job on that. And that would actually be the back of the cards as well. There'll be a navigation bar that's on the front of the website page, gives you information about the game, some instructions, how to play it in case people don't know how to play dominoes. And then a strategy page, give you some information about how you score and how you can win. The game space is the largest part of the home page, and that will represent where all the cards will be deployed from the stack that's the deal to each player's hands. I've developed this, I had in mind, I think 4 players at first, but the parts you'll see will only show 2 players, although I'm planning to make this up to 6-player game at some point. Underneath the game space will be how you navigate the game when you want to start a new game, either at the end of one game or in the middle. If you want to decide you want to just start over again, you can do that. Number of players, of course, you can choose that before you cut the new game, and then the shuffle and deal will start us off there. And so then each page has its own entity. So the about this game page will be able to be navigated to from the home page, as well as instructions and strategy, meaning you can go anywhere you want at any time, especially being able to get back to home. And so each one of those pages will basically do something that's very similar with instructions, as well as the strategy page. And so the mobile version of it, we were asked to make sure we identify, remember, most people have a smaller device that they keep with them, or maybe even a tablet. So you need to consider how your game will be responsive to smaller screens. So I try to change that around a little bit. This was just a preview. So I thought that picture might end up in the middle there with the title at the top. And then this thing over here, which represents something I realize I've seen on every website I've been on, especially when I'm on my phone, the hamburger bar. Heard that back in November, had no idea what we were talking about, but now I get it. 3 lines in the corner, and that kind of lets you navigate to wherever you want to go to in the game. And everything else pretty much is the same on each one of those pages and on a website version. This is how the user would interact with the website, whereas the home page is where all the magic happens. That's where the game is being deployed and the cards are moving around. You can see your score going. But of course, you can also get to some information about the game, how it's working, instructions and strategy as well. And then this is actually very important, this part down here, as I mentioned, something I used to tell my students I tell my students give them some information about coding as well. Always make sure that anyone who's on your site can go anywhere they want, especially that's the beginning. Never let somebody get stuck in your interface. And so here is what the website looks like now. So a little different from the first version, but pretty much the exact same thing as what I envisioned 12 weeks ago. The navigation bar changed a little bit as I got some more information about what could be here, and also seeing some of my classmates like Joe put together some things. So I just added a few pieces I thought might be important. All these links are responsive. As you can see, when I hover over them, they have some activity going on, and the game space has been deployed. Again, I just decided to, for the beginning of the game, make sure that it would be a 2-player game, which I'm still in the process of working on right now. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how it works, but just not here. And the new games and the new players and shuffle and deal buttons will be deploying, functionality at some point. But right now, they just kind of give us some message about we can play this game. You can decide how many players you want to play. Of course, I mentioned that at some point, it'll be up to 6 players in the game. And the last one over here lets you know if you're ready to go, let's go. You can also go to the instructions page, as I mentioned. And the interesting thing about this, which I had no clue about before, even though it was kind of mentioned a couple of times, this is a single page application. So everything that's on this page that right now you see is being deployed in one entity, one place. So you don't have to worry about buffering or anything like that from another website or the internet not functioning practically for you. Some strategy in here about how you can score and win. I added a contact page here so that you can give me some information in case there's an issue or you want to know some more information about the site. I also have a link here for my church's business website, which is separate, of course, from the church. And this deploys to a place where there's some actual other games that we offer that you can get involved in if you'd like to check out some more. Notice how that button right there took us away from the website, whereas everything else that's on the website is contained in the single page application. Statistics, you can add your names in here. I think I remember Jenny being one of our facilitators that's listening to us right now. So we can put your name in here as if you had a chance to play the game. This will be your first game. Let's let you be a winner. And if you do win, the score would be 150 points. And the interesting thing about this section right here is once you play the game and enter your statistics, it goes into a game history section that is hosted on in a database on MongoDB. So all that information is deploying as well. So that's basically how the website functions and how things will go around in there. The highlights of the website right now are its mobile responsiveness. Let me go back to the home page just so you can kind of see how it works out. You notice how the 2 pictures are on here right now for the beginning of the, when you're on like a computer or a device that's kind of large. But say you were working on your tablet, then I decided to let the pictures go by the wayside. They were kind of going in different directions. It was kind of getting smaller, and it just decided I would rather just be able to see the name of the game, what's going on here. Notice how everything else is basically the same size here. I thought the size of the game space was more important than maybe those pictures at the top. As well as when you move a little further, when you're probably dealing with a mobile device, now there's those 3 little bars that you saw in that wireframe I had a little while ago, which of course just give you information about every section, and of course, and they're all navigable as well. Make it a little wider here because I'm going to come back and forth a couple times. In terms of my code over here, I actually got a chance to add a section that will be called gameplay to the website, and all my cards for the game are deployed. I mentioned there are 36 cards for the game, so they're all visible and available to work here. And this will eventually be the place where all the logic, JavaScript logic, will be housed, so that all the information about how the game is played will be employed in the game. And here's an example of what one of the cards might look like. Notice the words on the cards, and this is what allows us to be a religious game, because all the information on the cards represent things that are positive. So this is actually very important for me, because when I used to be very competitive when I was playing games, and so I'd get upset or have a problem with somebody. But if prudence is your objective, or you're looking at the card and you recognize, wait a minute, that card says joy. I'm supposed to be enjoying this. This is a game. I'm supposed to be having some fun. And so even though people that may not be religious, they might recognize that, look at what's on these cards, children or whoever we're playing with, grandma. These are the things we should be more impressed with as we're playing the game, and keep those things in mind as we go forward. The technologies that I used are several. I'm not going to list them all, but if you notice, maybe I didn't mention this, but I'll mention it now. This game is being deployed on Netlify, which is a hosting service that allows me to be able to look at this on my phone. So you could do this if you want to. You want to go plug that into this website address. It would show you the exact same thing you're looking at right now, and you can also look at all the information that's available on the screen here. The backend I mentioned, the database is being hosted by MongoDB, and I can control that data. I can delete information. I can add information on there if I like, so I can keep a complete game history of whoever plays the game. And in collecting more data, which I probably do in the future, maybe grab people's email addresses and ask them, well, what you think about the game? Maybe provide me with some feedback about how I can make it even better situation. The CSS is how all that styling came about. So what you saw on the screen in terms of how the website, when it moved, the pictures moved around, all that information is housed here in the CSS. And I really appreciated the opportunity to learn this kind of coding, because what it helped me realize is that whatever I wanted to do with this website, I could do it. So I didn't have to have any limitations on how I could work things. I simply had to figure out how to make all the styling and all the information and all the wording and everything listed by what's going on here in the CSS section. And of course, the JavaScript is actually where the logic is being housed for the situation for the game. And I just have a little bit of an example here to show you about some logic that I have been working on. So here is an example of all the cards you mentioned. Notice I showed you a couple cards before. They had some numbers on them and some words as well. I don't put that in here in the JavaScript section, and I'm really just doing this on a place called Replit. Another thing I learned through the cohort. So that I can just kind of learn the logic and figure out how to make the game work. So all this information is the games and the cards, and there's a lot of other information about how the game functions. So once I hit the run button over here, this is kind of how the game might be deployed. So let me just refresh it here. I think it was kind of waiting on me there. Sure enough, there we go. How many players will be play the game? Up to 6 at one time. I suppose we're saying it's 4. And then the computer says, all right, 4 players it is, and let's get started. And at some point, 4 hands will be deployed here. I just made it responsible for 2 hands right now, 9 cards in each player's hand. That's the most you want to play for a 2-player game. To start the game, you have to find the highest double. So the code sorts through each player's hand and finds which player has the highest double that's in here. And so 7-7 is in the player's hand right here. And that number or that card is being placed on the table. That would be the game space that's in between. And notice how, since the player 1 had the 7-7, there are less cards now in the player's hand than the computer's hand. So I'm taking a card out of that player's hand. All these other cards here represent what's called the boneyard, meaning the unused cards at this time. And so that at that point, now it's about a matching game. Whatever the first double was, whatever's in the other player's hand, the computer in this case, they have to figure out how to match that card to whatever is out there on the table right now. And so there was the 7 out there, all 3 of these 7s are now choices for the computer to play. And so that's where I've gotten so far. And of course, I'm gonna add a lot of more functionality to this as I go along, learning the ton of JavaScript that I mentioned going forward. Here's some things that I'm gonna be working on here that I'm gonna show you again in my user stories or my Replit board is what I'm trying to say. I am Agile certified. That mindset with working with teammates and information and going forward is something that was a little different for me coming from an educational background, but definitely something I think is very important. Focusing on individuals over processes and making sure that you're being responsive to change, not only because change is inevitable, but because change is something that's useful. It helps you figure out what's going to happen next. That's why there's so many different iPhones or tablets that come out all the time, because change is something that we really enjoy. It makes it better for us. The daily stand-ups were very important in terms of that's sprint and scrum process. And helped me stay connected with my teammates and actually getting information from them. Those discussions were very helpful. And I was a product owner at one point, which means I was the one that was keeping track of our board that kept track of all the details that was going on. So this is my personal board that I put together based on how our team was working together with the backlogs and what have you. And of course, I mentioned before that that those conversations that we had were very instrumental in helping me figure out, well, what happens now? Or what's the next thing we should do? Well, how are you going to do that? And all those bits and pieces of things were helpful in getting me to at least the point where I am now, where I have an idea of what I'm going to do going forward. So some of the things that I still need to do that was kind of at the bottom of that Replit page was make sure this thing can be functioning on my website. The game has dominoes is something that you can play on more than one side. So the horizontal side of the game board and the vertical side have to be deployed as well. And I'm going to make sure I put that next play on the table and then figure out how to get some scoring going in there. So those are the things that I'm kind of in the to-do process working on. And then these things here, I'm still kind of working on right now. In terms of obstacles that I had, at one point, the game history would not deploy on my website. It was being kept in the MongoDB database, but it just didn't show over here on the side. And sure enough, one of our TAs, Matt in particular, was very instrumental in helping me put this together so that you could see it. So I appreciate that, Matt. And all the other TAs, of course, were helping me with most of the styling of the things, which means this was a team effort to get me even to this point right here. All the different languages, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Netlify, all these things in essence are different languages and kind of was new to me at one time. And so even though I'm a teacher and I've been doing instruction for over 20 years, I, on the other side, being a student, had to listen very carefully and ask a lot of questions to make sure I knew what was going on. I realized that many of the people that I spoke to recognize themselves as professional debuggers, because of course, that's really all this is about. When there's a problem, you got to fix it. So that was actually something I learned a lot about in this process. And then applying the JavaScript methods, I pretty much have a nice library of them going through all that information I showed you with Replit about JavaScript. So the best parts of this process, as well as creating this website, meeting future and meeting new teammates when I work with them through this cohort, and then future people, teammates I've met on the Slack channels and all this. I have now a network. I didn't used to use LinkedIn very much before I started this, but sure enough, I have a whole support team now on LinkedIn, and looking forward to what the future will bring for that. I'm one person that when I start something, I'm going to finish it. So even though I've gotten to this point, and I can say that I've actually finished the cohort, at some point, I'm going to send you a copy at some point of what the website looks like when it's done. And we'll all get a chance to enjoy the game, hopefully. And I really enjoyed, as I mentioned, able to recognize that I can do whatever I want pretty much on a computer. And that's what people have been doing over the years with this information that we see on the internet. They had an idea and they figured out a way to make it happen. And that is a powerful entity. Future state of my website will feature up to 6 players. Players will be able to play against one another virtually, which means we can be in different places to play it. So that's going to be an interesting facet that I'm going to plan to add to this. And of course, at that point, I will figure out how to put some cost in there. The free game, the free version of it is just when you play against a computer. But if you want to play virtually, of course, that would be something where I could generate some income for the church through the virtual, us putting our information about how we do things at our church out there. And we have several other games and activities that we do at the church. And so I'm going to plan to use this template going forward to hopefully end up with a whole list, whole backlog, or a catalog, I should say, of games that we will generate from my church. All right, that's my information. Thank you very much for listening. If there's any questions, I'd love to hear them.
Awesome job, Eric.
Great job, Eric. Yep.
Any
Thank
comments
you.
or questions?
No, I think it's great. Anytime we can monetize these ideas, it's great. So you've got another one that can be monetized.
There we go.
Hey all, great presentation. And I'm Lena with Placement Experts USA. Sorry, I jumped in late. But yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to, understand more. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. If you could maybe send me your email address, I'll be sure to add you in there.
Sure.
Awesome. All right.
Thanks, Kelly.
Next up is Chauncey.
All right, how's everybody doing? My name is Chauncey Currie. I am 22 years old, and I've always had a very high interest in technology and cars. I always wanted to know how different applications work, and I knew I wanted to make a game of my own one day, so I took an interest in coding. My current goal is to not only learn JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, but also C++. Before attending this cohort, I spent 3 years in the aerospace industry working at Boeing, building F-18s. I started working there right after high school, and I left because I felt like I had so much more to accomplish. This is when I decided to pursue one of my childhood dreams and look for a school for coding, and Savvy Coders stood out to me. So one of my biggest goals in life is to learn how to obtain great wealth. So for my capstone project, I decided to create an informational website teaching people what wealth is and in what ways I can help them attain it. The website will also allow users to see how growing wealth could benefit them and how its terminology isn't just about money, but it's also about health, status, and freedom. I feel like the sites that are available today that do explain these things either don't explain them well or are unappealing enough to keep people interested in navigating through the site. So I've created a site doing so. All right, let's see. Let me share my screen. So at the beginning of the cohort, we had to do a bit of project planning. This involved like wireframes, creating logos, making color palettes, and creating user flowcharts. So this is some of my wireframes that I had initially. This isn't what it completely came out to look like, but this is a lot of the ideas in these wireframes really translated over into the website. Especially my cards here at the bottom of that first page. These are some of my logo ideas. This will probably be forever changing because I'm a very indecisive person. I get tired of things very fast. So, as for my color palette, I created a color palette in my code. So, open this up. So this is my color palette right here. I have it set up to where like I just push basically type in color and then push basically one button and then it'll fill in the rest of any one of these. I can pick from any one of these at any time. I also use black too, but that's just a general color. Back here. All right, so this is my user flow chart. This is basically how I wanted the users to navigate throughout the site. This says search results. I do plan on adding a search bar to the website, but it's not there yet. Just going down, you can pick the page categories out of the home bar and so on and so forth. So for my agile experience, I was in a position of a developer. I picked that position because I feel like being in the other positions, it would be very easy for me to forget how to code. And this is just like looking into the future. Of course, always in my off time, I plan to keep up with practicing and continue to just make sure I always never forget JavaScript. All right, so for my project. So this is my project. This is the homepage. Welcome, come with us as we ascend to a higher lifestyle. You can either hover over this, click on this. This is to take you to the Learn More page, or you can go over here and access the Learn More page. This will take you to this page and you have 4 options to choose from. Click on one of these and this will give you like a brief, kind of not really an explanation, but like, I don't know, like introduction to the topic. I do plan on making extra pages that goes fully in depth into each topic. Click on this and this will take you over to the next topic and so on and so forth. And this will take you back to the main page. So we do have an About Us page. We are constructing a platform dedicated to helping better the well-being of humanity. Every day is a learning experience for us. So as we grow as a business and obtain more knowledge, we will put that knowledge under the microscope for the world to see. I am also working on a Contact Us page. This is fully functioning, but in the future, I do plan to create my own Contact Us form out of an API using my backend. Because this currently, well, let me fill this in real quick. So I'd say I type this in and hit send. It works, but it takes me off the page. And when I hit go back here, it completely throws my page for a loop. So that is a big bug that I will put on my list to fix. I also have a few links down here. This will be taking you to the Instagram, and this will take you to Twitter and my LinkedIn and so on and so forth. Right, my project is on Netlify. It is not the most updated because my project is forever being worked on. So some of the issues I ran into, some of the APIs I did plan on using didn't work out, just simply because how my website changed so much in the layout of it. When I do add some more informational pages, I'll probably try to incorporate those in a certain way that won't throw anything off or anything like that. As far as the future goes, the website will forever be changing. Just like I said, as we go along and gather more information, that information will be constantly being fed to the website, just for people to come check it out, see, and just learn something new. So that's about it. Thank you for your time. You can add me on LinkedIn using the link here. I will have this available in my my GitHub, or you can just email me at this email address right here. And any questions?
Thank you, Chauncey. That was awesome. Good job.
Thanks, Chauncey. Great job.
All right,
Great job.
All right. Next up is Shoshana.
Hey everybody, my name is Shoshana. I'm from Israel. I moved to USA 7 years ago. I'm a teacher assistant. I chose to learn full stack development because I wanted to do a career change. So someone that I know recommended me to look in full stack development. Maybe I will find it interesting. So I started to search and I find it interesting. I like to create, I like to search, and I like to solve problems and come up with solutions. So I look for places and I find savvy coders. I know they are a perfect match for me and they can provide me all the tools that I need to become success. For my capstone, I choose to create kids clothing because one of the things that I like to do is create clothing. So one day I want to create my own collections So let me show you how everything starts. Let me share my screen. So this is how everything starts. This is the home page. This is my header, my navbar. In the navbar, there is a link drop down that take you to each of page. Here is the image that I put. And here is the footer. On the footer, there is a contact, about, and explore. If you go into and get, let's say you want to get sweater, it takes you to the second page. This is the second page. The second page is the items, all sweater items. And the text there is being like, which kind of sweater is it? You press into the sweater. If you can tell, the navbar stay, the header stay, the footer stay, and each of page, it take you to individual item. And once again, so this is the individual item. The sweater here is, there is the size, color, price, and another image, and the footer. So I create for a device, for phones, for more small screens, and this is how the home page look like. There is a hamburger bar, and there is the item change, everything changed to the size in the hamburger bar, and the small pictures, the hamburger bar when it's closed, and this is the individual item. The difference that I create in the video item is that the price and the colors going by the bottom of the page. The footer, the navbar, the header stay the same. So now let me show you how it look like. It's a little bit different because I find other stuff more nicer, like the navbar. I find it more nicer to put it here on the top. On a future one, I will want to create the link drop downs. I try to create it, but I already create my navbar, so it's something I'll work at in the future. And here's my API header. The image stay the same. The image, I wanted to change it to the backgrounds in the future too. About, I find it more nicer to put it on the middle instead of the footer. I add the image instead the individual page into the home page. And yeah, when you go into, let's say, when you go, let's say, to the baby, take you to the baby page. It's a little slow, sorry. Take it to the baby page. Here's the baby page, sweater, pants, t-shirt. So I decided to put everything in a one page instead to create individual pages, sweater, pants. This is something that I create in the futures. Oh, with the short time that I had, I doesn't have time to create multiple pages. So something that I want to work in it on the future, the baby page, the girl page. And if you go into individual items, this is one of the obstacles that I had. I wanted to take each of data coming from the back to the front page. I find it very difficult, and I wanted to go into the car. Let me show how we actually we solved the problems. So let's say if you go into the girl page, and I wanted to have all the code, if you can tell, all the code coming from the back to the front page, to the girl, baby. And then when you press the individual size, price, color, it takes you to the car. So I had a difficult very time to get a walk because it's going into the page, but the page is empty. So with the help of my TA and like Matt, so it helped me to figure it out that it doesn't need to be in the router, it needs to be in the end invalid listener. So actually the order is very, very important. When we figured it out, her page started to work. So something that I'm very happy that it's been a hard obstacle, but I'm very happy that we got it success. So let me show you how it's work. Let's say you're doing 3 and then you want, let's say, pink, and you edit, it's taking you into the car. On the future, I will want to create a checkout. There is the band, but you can really I need to create a page. So this is something I want to create in the future too. And this is the account. The account and account, I find it more difficult with the short time that I have to more search and learn how to do that. So this is something that I want to create in the future. If you're going back in the shot, I take you back to the home page, and I created for the device too. Let me show you how it looks like in the device. Yeah, I have a few bugs that it's from the pictures, like from the home pictures that it giving me every time bugs. Okay. And so this is how they look in the device. I measure it the same for the device. And there's the hamburger bar. If you go into the baby, it take you back. It take you to the baby page and to the girls and to the card. And here is the account. Yeah, so this is how it look like. And thanks to the eye gels, that the daily stand up and the team, the development, the master and the sorry, I'm still learning this. The Scrum Master that help me every day to get into my goal. So he helped me a lot, even the jarable that I have by myself, that just to go from done to do. And yeah, everything is hosted by Netlify and Roku. And if you have any question, you can ask.
Good job, Shoshana.
Nice
Awesome.
job. Very thorough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can stop sharing. There we go. All right. Any questions or comments for Shoshana? All right. Next up is Busuyi.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Busuyi. I'm from Nigeria. So I moved to the US in 2015. I have bachelor's, master's, and PhD in chemical engineering. I actually completed my PhD in July last year. So after the completion of my PhD last year, I was thinking about what I should do before I start a job. So because throughout my university career, I was doing a lot of process modeling, simulation, optimization, and control. So all these processes, all those technologies, they have a lot to do with coding. So I really enjoy doing process development, process modeling, developing equations that describe different chemical engineering processes. So I really like, and I really enjoy doing that. So at the completion of my PhD in July, I decided to develop my interest in coding. And that was when I got to know about Savvy Coder. So I did some brief research about Savvy Coder, and I got to realize that Savvy Coder is a place where I can achieve my career goals, hook, line, and sinker. So I got admitted to Savvy Coder, and I started the cohort in November. So in my Savvy, during this program, I learned a lot about HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, and some other languages that have to do with back end. So in my capstone project, I basically worked on the prediction or the estimation of different properties of different materials related to different processes in chemical engineering. You know, there are different processes in chemical engineering. Talk about adsorption, talk about purification, talk about chemical reaction. And in all these processes, of course, we have different materials, and all those materials we need to estimate or we need to predict their properties. So, and that was the subject matter of my capstone project. So right now I will share what I'll be able to do as far as my capstone project is concerned. So this is just the wireframes describing my capstone project. This is actually the home page. We have some tabs, some links. We have the home, about, contact, help, and search. And okay. So we have this, we have the liquid phase, because basically the ideal of the project, as I said, is to estimate or predict properties of different matters or different materials coming out from different chemical engineering processes. The way we do it, the first thing that you have to do is to select the material or the compound of interest. So after the selection, you move on to select the property of interest. I mean, the actual property that you want to estimate the value. So at the end of the, after the selection of the property of interest, there you need to select the conditions under which you want to do the estimation. You want to carry out the estimation. When you do all this, after selecting the compound, after selecting the property of interest, and after selecting the conditions, then you have to do the calculation. Actually, for the calculation of all those properties entails two steps. The first step is to formulate the model describing the process. So while you are formulating the model, the essence of the model formulation is to come up with all the equations describing the process. So at the end of the model formulation, you want to translate the equations that you were able to formulate from the process to JavaScript syntax, because the actual formulation, the actual equations do not follow JavaScript syntax. Then after the formulation, of course, you have to, as I said, you have to translate to the language of JavaScript. So at the end of that, then if you are working on this is for the because we have different phases of material. So we have the gas vapor phase, whereby you have to select the state of your matter. If the state of your matter is gas or vapor, you have to do your calculation on this page. But if the state is liquid, you have to do the same thing, the same manner of the same property estimation on this page. And if your matter is solid, you have to do your calculation on this page. And the last phase of matter is actually the multi-phase. For the multi-phase, we have different. We have mixture of matters in different phases. For instance, maybe you have gas, liquid, or you have gas, solid, or you have liquid, solid, on and on like that. So for the multi-phase, you also have to do the same thing. You have to select your compound of interest. You select the property that you want to calculate. Then you select your conditions and you do your calculation. So this is the user flow for the project. So when a user comes in to the home page of the application, then the user should be able to navigate right from the home page. The user should be able to access all the pages, for gas vapor page, for liquid page, for solid page, for the multi-phase, for the user to be able to do the calculation. And as you can see, there's interaction between all these pages for the different phases. There's interaction from gas vapor to liquid. I mean, if you're in the gas vapor phase, you will be able to navigate to liquid phase to do your calculation. Likewise, if you're in the liquid phase, you will be able to navigate to solid phase. And likewise, from solid phase to mortar phase. So there's robust interaction among all the different pages of the application. So right now, I will go to the actual application. Okay. Let me see up there. So this is the home page of the application. As I said, the application is basically the estimation or prediction of properties of matters in relation to different chemical engineering processes. This is the home page as a physical property prediction. So from the home page, I put this particular API. This is just a brief description of what the app does. This app was developed to present a unified platform for the prediction of physical properties of matters. The prediction is carried out for gas, vapor, liquid, solid phases, and likewise for their multi-phase. So you can predict different properties like boiling point, like viscosity, like like thermal conductivity, like density. Those are the different properties that can be predicted using the application. This is just a brief description about myself. As I said, I have degrees, I have bachelor's, master's, PhD in chemical engineering, and likewise, I have a bachelor in mathematics. So this is the contact page for the application, whereby if a user is interested in contacting us, the user just have to put his or her name here, his or her phone number, email, whatever the information that the user want to pass across to us, then do the submission. So the gas phase, because the links, the remaining links, which are the gas, vapor, liquid, solid, and the mortar phase, those are the actual links where the actual functionality of the application lies. As I said, for the gas vapor phase, you do the calculation in the gas vapor phase. In the liquid phase, you do the calculation in the liquid phase. For this, for solid phase, you do your calculation in solid phase. And if your material is mortar phase, you also do your material in mortar phase. But the main challenge with all these calculations is because there are no existing equations for the calculation. So right now, what I'm working on, I'm doing the model formulation. As I said, the application should work. The application should work for different chemical engineering processes, and for all those processes, the first thing that I have to do is to do the model formulation. So right now, what I'm working on is to develop the models describing different chemical engineering processes. So at the end of the successful model development, model formulation, I will have to translate all those developed equations to JavaScript syntax before the calculation or before the prediction can be carried out. So, and that is the stage I'm in right now. Trying to do the model development before I eventually proceed to the actual estimation of those properties. And this tab is just the home tab. Anywhere you are, any page you are in the application, they should be able to navigate, go back to the home page. Okay, so this is just a home page that takes you to to the home page, irrespective of the page you are in inside the application. So that's just what I'll be able to do. After the Savvy Coder cohort, I tend to continue to work on the project, and hopefully, and of course, I believe I will be able to do I will be able to complete all the tasks that I have to do with the model formulation before I do my actual property estimation. Thank you so much.
Awesome, Busuyi. Thank you for sharing all of that. Any questions or comments for Busuyi?
I think it's great when students can bring in prior studies that they've done and incorporate programming and tech into that. So I always applaud that. A lot of folks in data analytics do that. So it's just great to see those studies continued.
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, unless you guys have any questions or comments for the students, that is the end of our presentations.
You all did so well. I always love demo day. It's like my favorite. So you guys it's amazing how much you learn in a 12-week period, and it definitely shows in all these projects. So great job, everybody. You did very well.
Yes, they did. So
I want to thank you all for spending some time with us. We really appreciate you being here, listening, and giving us feedback. Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you, Jenny, Lena, Kelly. It was great to have you with us tonight.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. So balloons, champagne, congrats. Yay. We are good. Yay. You made it through. You're still breathing. Everybody's alive and happy. All right. Awesome job, guys. Very proud of you all. You guys
Good
can.
job and congratulations, everyone.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So you guys have a great night. We will bid you adieu, and we will see you next demo day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody. Congratulations.
Good job, guys. So you guys are free to go and enjoy your night. Keep in touch on Slack. And then Tuesday night is the job seeking workshop for you guys. So if you want to join that, absolutely, please do so.
Definitely.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
So much for
Thank you.
everything. Good night.
I was switching to Laurie's breakout room, or that's all.
I don't know if they're still doing demos right now. So if you move into her room, it might interrupt whoever's presenting.
Okay.
So I would just go ahead and take off for the night. Have a nice dinner.
Okay. Thank
Glass
you.
of
Yeah.
champagne. So
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Bye.
good night, guys.
Thank you all. Bye. Good night.
Thank you, Lena.
Yeah. See ya. Bye.
All right, Justin, I need like 5 minutes so I can run to the little girl's room, and then
I've got to go
orientation.
so bad. I know. Okay. I'll see you there. Bye.